All right, if you would, let me know where you are listening from. That way I can see who's here. I am Patricia Sung, and I help disorganized moms get their holiday it together in this case, or just their it together in general, one step at a time, so that you can feel confident running your home life. Now, um, if you hang out to the end, I have a little special gift for you, so stick around. But I want to ask you a question. Is your usual December like a total crazy show where it's a last minute frenzy, you've got half finished projects, um, there's too much money that you're spending, and you're juggling parents and in-laws and friends and everyone's expectations, and you feel like you're just kicking yourself for like not getting everything done, or um, you know not quite doing it right, or not doing what you wanted to get done. If you have done any of those things before, go ahead and put like a little yes or like amen in the chat, and I would love to hear what you think about it. Just how your holidays have been in the past. There is a theme of moms making themselves miserable in order to make everyone else happy. And I want to put an end to that, because it is possible to have a holiday that you enjoy, where you're not hating the stress of it more than you're actually enjoying the good stuff, where you're doing stuff that's life-giving and you're enjoying time with your friends and your family, that your friends and your family and your kids are actually enjoying it along with you, that you can focus on family time and making memories and doing traditions that you really enjoy. It is possible to have a low stress holiday. So I am gonna tell you in the next like 10 minutes how we're gonna use our calendar to plan ahead and make a realistic plan that you would actually get done and make your holiday less stressful. After that, I will tell you a little bit about the holiday course that I'm gonna be doing, and I'll take all of your questions that you wanna ask at the end. And if you're here, then you'll be able to get that freebie as well on the holidays. The calendar is going to be all the notes that we do today, so don't feel like you need to be scribbling down notes as we're talking. Like, just listen, absorb. You'll get all the notes in that link at the end. Plus a little bit extra, because I can only say so much in 10 minutes, and I promised you a quick mom-friendly lesson. So low stress holidays were not my thing. 10 years ago, I had literally like the worst Christmas ever, and I did it to myself. I tried to do too much, and it was rough, and I will save that story for Q&A at the end, in essence of, or in my goal of getting this into 10 minutes. And so it's still not a perfect solution, but it gets better every year as I do a better and better job of figuring out what matters to me and my family. I asked you all on Instagram, an email and Facebook, it was just like, what is it that stresses you out about the holidays? What is your struggle? And over again, what I heard is everyone's overwhelmed by not so much the to-do list, but juggling all the expectations of family and friends, and feeling guilty and overspending and the half-finished projects. And everyone's doing a lot, but not what makes you happy. And I want to change that. So there's 5 parts to creating your low stress holiday. They are: build your lighthouse, use your lighthouse, then make your plan, use your plan, and then at the end is reflection and assessment. And that's the setup of the course. And we're specifically talking about creating your plan today. If you have questions about prioritizing, you can go listen on the podcast. I talked about that on episode 70 and went in depth in that. So go listen, because today we're going to just focus on making the realistic plan. But that prioritizing part is so important, because prioritizing is an executive function. And if you have ADHD like me, that is not our strong suit. And it's really hard to prioritize once you're already in it and everything's going. It's hard to prioritize in the middle of December when you've already got everything going, because you've already made commitments that you might not have time to execute. And the earlier we start prioritizing, the better it makes everything that follows for the rest of the holiday season, and just in life in general. It's a really great skill that we can apply as a whole. So once you set your priorities, that's like your filter on what you're going to focus on and make the time in your plan to get those things done. So today's lesson, how do we make our plan? First, we need to figure out how much capacity you have, because we're looking at our capacity of time. Like, we all have the same number of hours in the day, but we all fill them differently. Some of us have more kids than others. Some of us have jobs that are, lots of hours, or, on top of mom job, which is 24 hours a day. And so we're all going to have a different amount of time to fill. And that's really important to me, that you understand that you can make this work for you no matter where your life stage is, whether season of motherhood you're in, how old or little your kids are, whether you're working or you're staying at home or working part-time or working from home, or who knows what we're doing these days. Excuse me, that you can make this work for you. It's all going to be different for every one of us, but we're going to tailor it to how your life works. So I want you to grab a blank calendar of November and December, and the links are in the email. You don't have to do this right now. Like I said, just listen and absorb, and then you can do the actual planning by yourself. You're welcome to do it now, but I don't know about you. I can't do two things at one time. So I'm focusing on just getting the lesson to you, and then you're welcome to do that afterwards if that is better for your focus. So in this blank calendar, this is not your plan. So please don't make it beautiful. We are not framing this. It is just a step in the process. Don't waste time making it beautiful. Do not get out your gel pens. Put those away if you are a gel person. I love a beautiful pen. But that's not what this is. This is a step in the process. So don't make it pretty. Here's what we're going to start with. First thing you're going to put on the calendar is stuff that's already planned. What's going on in your life in general? Mark the days where you have school. If you're traveling at all, you have guests coming in, activities for the kids that are just recurring. Every Wednesday we have piano lessons, and just put initials on those days. Again, we're not filling out a fancy calendar here. I literally want you to write, like, if it's a school day, just write the letter S. If it's a day that you're traveling, write the letter T. If it's football practice, just write FP on that day. Fill in the traditions or events that you already know are going to happen. And again, if they don't end up on the right day, that's okay. So if you know that you're going to go Christmas caroling one night, just pick a night and put it on there. It doesn't have to be, well, I don't know, maybe we're going to go the 4th, maybe we're going to go the 7th. No. Just put it on a day. The whole point is just to look at your calendar and see how full is it. How much capacity do you have left? So just stick it on a day. Anything that you know is going to happen in the next, I don't know how many, 6-8 weeks that we have left before the holidays are over. Write all that in there. Now, the step that we usually miss as moms is protecting our energy. And I know that sounds like a little bit woo-woo. That's not where I'm going. What I want you to think about is, how are you making time for your sanity, recharging, like quiet time? We have to write in that time into the schedule, or it will not get done. So look at the days. Again, it doesn't have to be the right day that's going to be. Pick a day and write down the letter F for family time, at least once in the season, preferably more than that, because if you don't schedule in time for your family, F is for family, that your family just can't be shuffled from like event to event. They need some time with you. They need some time with just one-on-one with your like nuclear family. So mark out a time where you guys can be together all at one time, preferably more than one, but let's get at least one in. That can be also like a date night with your spouse. Write in a Q for quiet time, or an R for recharging your batteries. If you're an extrovert, maybe your quiet time looks like hanging out with some girlfriends on, a Thursday evening after the kids go to bed. If you're an introvert, that might be like, I just want to sit at home and read my book today. It doesn't matter what it is, but fill in the number of times where you need to recharge, which may be once. If you're not a recharging kind of person, you just go, go, go. I still thinking of that, but you know, that's another topic. But especially if you are an introvert like I am, schedule in even like once a week if you need to, quiet time to just recharge. I also want you to put in an L for life stuff. At least once a week, you need to block out a day that's for things like laundry and meal prep or cleaning the house, like things that just need to get done that will get pushed by the wayside. And then I want you to go and put 2 giant X's on 2 days towards the end of the season that are for emergencies. This is a buffer time where if you forget to do something or somebody gets a stomach flu or there's some kind of emergency, you've blocked out that time where you're not going to be panicking because somebody's vomiting and you still have to go Christmas shopping. Like, let's just make some space for that. If you have it left over, which rarely ever happens, you can fill it later. There is always going to be something that doesn't go to plan. So let's just make room for that now. So I'm going to show you my like very rough version of this because I want you to see it should be ugly. It should be scribble scrabbly. And what I'm going to do is count up the amount of time that is left over. That's open space. And I want you to circle those on your calendar. If you have different colors and you're a visual person, you might want to take like maybe a highlighter and just circle those places where you actually have empty space in your calendar. And these are the times where you can get things done. Write down that number. You probably should subtract 1 if you are like me and have a terrible sense of time on how long things take. Because when you get that number, well, hold on, let me show you this. Okay. So here's my calendar. And okay, you see the glare. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here. So see, look, I literally just put like W for work, S for school. And then you see here's my rectangles for this space. I just wrote in a like event for things that will, you know, happen, but I don't necessarily know when. There's my big giant X, okay? So once you've counted these up, which I don't have like a fancy board here. Okay, when you count up how much empty space you have, like this is all you have to work with, my friend. That's it. We a lot of times just don't assess what we actually have to work with before we start. So when I counted them up, I have 1 full day with nothing on it, which is literally the first day on the calendar, okay? Then I've got 4 evenings that are open. I have 1 weekend morning and 4 weekday mornings, which means, you know, I have one of my kids is doing virtual school, but another one will be here. So I know like what I can do when I have kids at home is going to be different than what I can do if my husband is around and can help me. So now that I know, literally, I have 1 full day, 4 evenings, 4 weekday mornings, and 1 weekend morning. That is all I can do. That is all the time that I have extra to work towards the holiday things, which is not very much, okay? But when we know that that's what we have to work with, we can fill it up with the things that are important. So in the essence of not trying to work, like write on this while I hold it, I just put these on sticky notes. But here's what I want you to do. You're going to take your top priority task that you already hopefully thought about. Either you listen to the podcast, you already know, like, this is the thing that I really want to get done first. What's most important? And you're going to write out the steps for that task. A lot of times we don't think about how much time it's actually going to take us to do something at first glance, especially if you have ADHD like I do. We go like, oh, like we're just gonna like make a Christmas craft with our kids, and you know, be like 20 minutes, it'll be done, it'll be fun. Does it really take 20 minutes? No, it does not. So if we stop and think about each of the steps, we can see what we really need to devote to get that done. And yes, some things are going to be simple. If you want to do the Christmas craft, it's really buy Christmas craft supplies. And step 2 is do the craft with the kids. But in that, requires you to prep the area, like if you're crazy and like glitter, you gotta bring that in. You gotta gather your supplies. You need to make the stuff. You need to clean it up. That's way more than 20 minutes that we like aimed for at the beginning, right? So if we write all the steps, we can see what needs to get done. And if you want to write in the chat, just first glance, if you think about the project of gift giving, how many steps do you think that's going to take you to complete? Like gut instinct, how many steps is it to give a gift? Okay. So here's what I wrote down. Gift giving. It starts with setting time to set a budget with yourself or your spouse, brainstorming all the people that you need to shop for, then brainstorming gift ideas for each person that you're shopping for. Next, we have researching or looking for like the best price for that thing, actually choosing what the specific thing that you are going to buy after that brainstorm. Then you've got, if you decide to make any gifts, that's two parts. You have to buy all the supplies and create them. You need a time to shop, whether that's online or in the store, plus you need to account for shipping times for it to arrive. Then you also need to go shopping for like bows and tape and, wrapping paper. You need time to wrap and possibly hide if you have a Christmas sleuth in your house or a Hanukkah hunter trying to find out what the presents are. And then you've also got, if you need to mail presents, you have to consider like the amount of time it needs to get there to mail it. So that for me is 8 steps and 11 if you include mailing things or making things, which is way more than I would have said in gut instinct. I don't know about you. Let me see if I can get to the chat here. Yeah. Yep. Nope. Nobody would have guessed 8. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Fill in those rectangles that you have made or your circles, and you're going to fill them in working backwards with the steps. So you're going to start at the bottom here and say like, okay, well, either I do or don't have to mail somebody. Well, if I'm mailing, I need to make sure I mail by this date. So here's the step 8 of gift giving. Then I'm going to work backwards. Okay, here I'm going to do gift step 7, gift step 5. You're going to fill them in, and I just put them on Post-it notes, so I'm trying to write on this thing while I hold it up. But so like I have like cleaning up my house before guests come, right? That's going to take me like that whole block there. That's full. Okay, I want to decorate the tree. I generally do that on my birthday, December 14th. Anybody? Okay, so birthday project, I already know that's going to be on that day. But before that, I have to get everything out of the attic. So before that, I need to put in, I need my husband to help me with that, so I'm going to put that on the weekend. I need to get the tree out of the attic. I'm going to add that there. And you're going to go work through each of those steps, filling them in. Again, they don't have to be in a particular place. You do want to work backwards and thinking like how far back you need, but don't worry about like what exact date they're on because we'll sort that out later. You can rearrange your like timing within the week later on. Once you fill in your top priority, that's when you can go back and then repeat it with, okay, well, I know I need to do some house cleaning that needs to get done. I know I need to give gifts. I filled that in. I want to have Christmas Eve at my house. What do I need to do to get that event ready? And you go through in priority order. Now, I want to give you a couple quick tips. Be creative in your thinking. Can you lump similar tasks together? So like if you write all this out, get all the shopping on one day and you can knock out all the shopping at once. Or if you need to actually go to the store, you can think about, okay, I'm gonna be heading to drop off my kid. This store is nearby there. I'm gonna go on that date. Try to clump together as much as you can that works together to save yourself time. Can you hit things with, hold on, I'm gonna put this on the floor here and grab a little water. Can you hit 2 birds with 1 stone? So if you want to make Christmas cookies and you want to hang out with grandma, can you do those together? Can you make like cards for the elderly with your best friend at a play date and then deliver those later? So any way that you can double up and get 2 things done at once, you can start planning ahead because you see these are the things I want to get done and you can rearrange them that way. Is there anything that you can make easier? Can you order food in, cater? Can you buy a gift certificate for what you really enjoy to do, like doing with that person as the gift? Can you limit your decorating to 3 areas in the house instead of going all out like Clark Griswold style? I also want you to think about an auto response for any time you get a new request. If anybody asks you to do anything, what's your immediate go-to phrase? Think of something that works for you, whether that's like, oh, let me check with my partner or spouse. Let me check my work schedule. Oh, let me check my calendar. I'll get back to you. Anytime you auto say yes to something, you're in trouble. You're going to just, it's not good. You need time to pause and think about it and see, do I really have the capacity to get that done? Can I actually take that on and do it well? So figure out your autoresponder. So there's some quick tips to kind of bring the efficiency up. Then once you write down all these items and you get to the point where it's full, like there's your big red stop sign. I have put my important things on the calendar. I don't have room for anything else. If you say yes to everything, then you lose the magic and the joy because it gets trampled on by like stress and frustration and lack of sleep and strain on your relationships and all that joy that was here at the beginning just gets like, it's gone. As the leader of our families and the holiday plan, it is our responsibility to protect not only our mental well-being, but that of our kids. Hold on, let me grab a little water here. Because we know holidays are stressful, but it's also stressful on our spouses and our kids can't protect themselves quite yet. That's our job. We know that bedtimes are going to get pushed back or more junk food is going to get consumed. There's more excitement and schedules are off and the stress is higher and kids know when their mom's stressed. When we go in with that mentality of knowing that's going to be there, when we're aware we can prepare, and when we know what our boundaries are and our priorities are, then we can uphold them. If normal bedtime on school nights is a must-have for your family to function the next day, then you know when somebody asks you, like, you know there's that time where you can say like, okay, morning disaster, fun event, and figure out which one matters. A lot of us don't know what our boundaries are, and we're going to work on that in the class because we can't uphold a boundary or a priority if we don't know that it exists. I want you to start out with your clearly defined priorities because then you know where you can give and take, you have a plan to implement what's important, and it just saves everyone's sanity and keeps burnout at bay so that you're not yelling at your family on Christmas as I have in the past. So if this is resonating with you, like I am tired of being a frazzled ball of nerves, the holiday, and scrambling around last minute and overwhelmed by the lengthy to-do list and everyone's expectations and just, cursing the holiday cheer instead of enjoying it, then I want to help you kick that chaos to the curb. We're going to determine what is important to you and then make your holiday plan with your priorities in mind. And I know that some of you are going to take this information about your calendar and just like run with it, and it's going to be a huge help for you. But I also know that some of you will need more help to make it happen. And that's why I made the course. So I'm going to tell you about that. And then I will take all the questions that you want to ask at the end. So you can go ahead and put your questions in the chat now so that when I'm done my little overview, I will start answering those. So for those of you who want more help and accountability in figuring out boundaries and knowing how to say no to people when you realize that that thing is not important to you and it's really going to disappoint them, like how can you have that conversation? How do you even know what is on the priority list? And then the actual like step-by-step of figuring out how to create the plan and make it into something that's doable. This is for you. So this class is for disorganized moms who are just overwhelmed and like don't even know where to start. This is for moms who have little ones, who have just started their family, and you're thinking about like, how do I, what traditions do I want to start now that I have my own family? Like, this is the time to like create your family's version of holidays. What do you want to do? But it's also for moms who have like teens and tweens who are juggling 400 activities and all the events and all the opinions that come with those beautiful humans you created. You can tailor this to all seasons of motherhood. So wherever you're at, or, you know, like I was telling someone, like, God bless you, you have a toddler and an elementary school and a teenager. I don't know how you function like that. You are a saint. Anyway, so I'm teaching this class. It's 4 weeks. It's an interactive course with group coaching. The first 2 weeks, we're tackling the priorities lighthouse. How do you use your lighthouse to know, what do I focus on? What can I cut back on? How do I feel less guilty about not doing everything? It's because you're choosing what's important. You know that when you are confident in your decision and you know that this is right for you and your family, it is so much easier to make harder choices. And then the second half of the class is weeks 3 and 4. We'll tackle the calendar part together. Make a plan that is doable in the time that you have. We will break down the big holiday projects into baby steps, create a realistic plan to get things done and not be cramming them in at the last minute. So what I'm really excited about is that it's small group training. It's for, like, it's going to be special. Like, this is the inaugural group, and I'm excited to just like sit with you one-on-one and like work through what is it that you need. I'm tailoring this, like, I have my plan written out, but I'm going to tailor each week to what the group is telling me they need. What are your questions? What are your struggles? What are your frustrations? I'm going to ask you every week before we start the module, what are you struggling with in this area, to make sure that I incorporate that in. I want this to be of the most help and the most value to you. So every Tuesday, we're going to meet online for 30 minutes. I'm going to do a quick lesson at the beginning. My goal is 10 minutes. And I want it to be like mom life friendly, because we are moms. We have things to do. I want it to be quick, short, to the point, get in and get out. You got it. Now, in that 10 minutes though, you get the information, but then you're going to have 20 minutes with me to sit there and go, okay, this is what I need help with. I'm struggling with this, and we'll work through all that together. Then on Wednesday, I'll give you, we'll walk through the exercise on a video. So this is optional. I'm going to give you the instructions on how to do the exercise to, you know, execute what you're learning. But if you want that video of like, I want to see it, I'm a visual learner, or you're an audio learner, you want to listen to me talk, like, this is how I can explain it to you in more detail. So I want you to have the information that you need in order to make it happen. And then we're going to connect again at the end of the week for another 30 minutes of Q&A. If you can't be there, like, you can send me the questions ahead of time. I'll still answer them. That way you can, you know, just watch the replay and you'll still get your question answered. But this is an optional thing. Like, if you're like, hey, I'm good, I got it, move it along, great. If not, I don't want you to get stuck. Like, this is the time to be unstuck. Let's talk about it. Let's work through it and move forward. So like I said, I'm going to record each one. You can watch each lesson and chat the live online meetings that we do afterwards. If you just need that extra like reinforcement to hear it again, if you can't make it, you have that access. And there's going to be so many opportunities to ask questions. I want you to brainstorm solutions with the other mamas, get help. Like, you're going to find out the way that makes this work for you, because it is so interactive. I'm also excited that you're going to be like inside influencers, like figuring out how this course is going to help the most moms possible. Because I'm going to like put this together and make it a like full class for the following year, and it'll be like your input in there, and I will give that to you as well, like as my thank you for being a part of it, is that you'll have access to like the snazzy version once I put it together for the 2021 holiday season. And then we're also going to have an online community for us to all talk and encourage each other and, you know, help hold us accountable. We're all going to be in there together making it happen. I when I was trying to figure out like how much does this cost? I counted up like, what does it cost for the hours like I'm spending with you FaceTime, face to face, well, I mean, face to virtual face. And it was going to be over $700. And I'm like, okay, that's too much. So I'm like, okay, how do I make this better? We're going to do a bonus week in January where it's going to be our evaluation celebration, where we're going to come back together after the holidays and say, okay, what went well? What did we do well? As moms, we tend not to really like appreciate what we did well. We're just like on to the next human that needs a juice box opened or to be driven somewhere. So we're gonna take that moment to say, okay, this went well. I'm not happy with how this went. I want to change this or this, and make some notes so that when we do the next holiday season, you're building on what you already did. Like you already put in like all this work to make it better. Let's build on that. We don't want to lose that. So the way I was able to set it up, it is $247 for the class, and you can enroll at successfulasmother.com, and I'll put that in the chat too. And let me grab some questions, and then okay, I need to read for a second. Hold on here. Okay, so Kathy says, I keep adding traditions because I feel like if I have a free moment, I should fill it with one more thing we all love. How do I know when I overdid it? Okay, let me see. Can you unmute yourself? Is that possible? Or do I have to do it for you? Hey!
Hi.
Okay. Tell me more about that. Like, I feel like you already know the answer in there, but let me see if I can help you pull it out. Because you're already saying, how do I know when I overdid it? You already know that you overdid it. Okay, so
it happens not even just holidays, but my husband a lot of times will tell me, he'll say, Kathy, stop adding stuff because you can't do 10 things in a day. And and then you're like, no, yes, I can. Yeah, I can. And then you're always disappointed because you never get everything done. And and you're constantly failing. And I think I don't know, I feel like a superhero for some reason, which I probably shouldn't. Maybe I don't know. I guess our brain's a little bit like superhero in certain ways, but definitely not executive function ways. So that's my issue.
Okay, so I do this a lot. I will be honest. Like, this is definitely one of my ways that my ADHD really comes out. I think I can fill every second, and I do the same thing. I'm like, oh, we can do this. It's gonna be great. And I really have to practice taking a step back. And that's where, when we make the plan at the beginning and we figure out what's really important to you, if those things that you're adding really are important to you, then they will be there at the beginning when we make the plan. If they're not, then when you get towards the point where you're like, okay, maybe we could do one more thing, that's when we stop and say, okay, I already made my plan. I only have this many days. I filled what buckets I had. So that means if I want to add this really cool thing, what am I going to take out of the bucket? And then there's that moment of, okay, it'd be really fun to go caroling, but that means that I have to give up decorating the Christmas tree. Is that something that I really want to do? A lot of that, like the whole process is taking the pause and saying, okay, does that make sense? And one thing I'm actually really working really hard on right now is when I set my plan, is sticking to it and not changing it.
Yeah.
It is the hardest thing ever. It has been a real struggle. In literally, like, I made this plan for a reason. I said that these things were important for a reason, and I'm disrespecting myself and my family when I deviate from what I said I was going to do. And that's a hard pill to swallow, like really hard pill to swallow. But that's what I've had to tell myself is, if this is the plan I said I was going to do, then that's what I need to stick to. And when I feel like, oh, I can throw this other thing in, that's when I have to stop and say, is this really valuable enough that I'm willing to let go of my word?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's like, oh, that would have been so fun. But I also have to remind myself of like that when I was doing this earlier of like, this is where we're having fun. And as soon as I start layering more things on top of it, then the joy gets covered up and weighted down. And more is not necessarily more. So there's the balance of, I made a plan and I made it knowing what was important to me. And then when I want to change it, is it really worth it?
When you were talking before about your calendar and you showed us the calendar, how do you know, because I'm assuming most of us struggle with estimating how much time something's going to take, which I am absolutely clueless with that. And I always underestimate. And that's another thing my husband would tell me, no, it's going to take this long. I'm like, no, because you just like to exaggerate. No, I don't think I don't know if he exaggerates or not, but usually he's
my
right.
husband and I have this conversation all the time.
So how would I fill a calendar if I don't know if something's going to take half a day, 2 days, 2 hours? Like, I just kind of.
So yeah, we're terrible at estimating time. Part of that is creating that buffer space that I was talking about, where like when I was looking at the calendar and I have 4 like evenings, I will actually, before I make my plan, I will take away one of those evenings and I'm only going to work with 3 of them for one. So that eliminating a day creates buffer space for me. So from the get-go, I don't try to plan 4 evenings. I'm going to try to plan 3. And then I literally add, when I start estimating times, is that I add a lot of time. Usually I will add 50% to my estimate, or I will go to my husband, who's very good with time, and I say like, is this a realistic estimate? And then he laughs in my face. And then he's like, no. And he will walk through that with me. So that's something that I've had to learn to be humble about. And I have like, I don't have any sense of time whatsoever. So yeah, to me, it's a combination of, from the beginning, telling myself I have less time than I do, and then also asking for help on the estimating, because it's just not a skill I have. And if I sit here and say, oh yeah, that says 20 minutes, it's not. Like, I've just had to accept that I have to ask for help. That's not something I'm good at. And I'm getting better though. Like, the more I watch him, like, I make him talk me through, like, how did you get to 40 minutes when I thought it was 20? And I see where I have to like put on my goggles and be like, how did you get there? And see where I don't count in time, which for me is usually like actually getting out of the car and walking into the building. Like, I think that I can just pull up to somewhere and like magically appear inside. He's like, no, you have to park in the parking garage. You have to ride the elevator. Like, what? And so now that I know that those are the places where I skip, I can, when I make my estimate and I'm like, okay, no, I need to think about those things that I skip. So it gets better with time, but I'm also not going to pretend like I'm going to be really brilliant at this either.
But you know what else I'm wondering too, because that makes sense. Like, yeah, like let's say appointments. Yeah, I can ask him. But what about like, you know, the more girly stuff that we take care of? Let's say like Christmas stuff. He's not going to know how long it takes to, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, shop for kids' outfits for Christmas. Like, he's not going to know anything like that. So, I mean, that's
don't ask him. Do you have a girlfriend who's good at that stuff?
I don't think I have girlfriends with ADHD. So I think I need to find some.
You don't want somebody with ADHD to tell you this. You want somebody who doesn't have ADHD to tell you this.
But I feel like they will understand. I mean, my sister doesn't have ADHD, and I guess she helps me with ideas a lot of times, but I still feel like I need some kind of people that actually get my issues, because I feel like a lot of them are like, what's your problem? Like, what do you mean you can't?
Well, I mean, you can, I don't know if you're in my Facebook group. It's Motherhood and ADHD. I mean, I think those moms would be like, oh, sure, I'll help in. But I mean, you have to like watch it. Awesome. We all have ADHD. So if our estimate might not be that good, but I think you would get enough feedback in there that you could make a better judgment on those things.
I know you had one. That's
and
awesome.
Some of it is like, just trying. And then like the whole the evaluation portion is saying like, okay, that wasn't right. That was terrible estimation. And taking the time to think about like, well, what went wrong, and adjusting. And that's something that we're also not good at. We don't take the time to stop and pause and think about it. So
that's a good idea, because I usually feel like I just chalk it up to, I just failed again, and that's it. Like the helplessness. And
yes, and there's part of that is that like mindset of like, instead of I failed again, it's like, okay, I learned something from that. Let me try next time. When we do these changes in our holidays, like it's not gonna make this holiday like magically beautiful and like, you know, Santa Claus is sprinkling glitter on us. Like it's not gonna be perfect, but you will make improvements this time, and then next time around you'll make improvements again, and you'll make improvements again, to the point where your Christmas 5 years from now is going to look very different than this year. So it is hard with ADHD to think that far ahead. Our time is like now and not now, and so right now it's not good and we're upset. Whereas if we think, okay, well, I'm doing this work and I'm investing in now, and I'll see the benefits down the road. It's hard to think that far ahead, but know that the work that you're doing and putting in and working on like your time estimation skills is going to make a difference when you're, you know, 3 years down the road, 10 years down the road. It's not for nothing now, even though it was a total crap show this time, it's making a difference in the long run.
It's the memories for your kids, I think, that matter.
And they won't remember a lot of the bad stuff. Like a lot of what they remember is like, we had a really great time at this thing. And you're like, I just remember yelling at everybody to get in the car. So, you know, they don't hold it against us like we hold it against us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course.
You do an amazing job, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I love the podcast. You're really brave for doing all this.
Thank you. There's a lot of times where I'm like, what did I get myself into? Especially because I spent so many years hiding it and not telling people, and doing my best to like put on my happy mask and say everything's fine. I mean, I can just say it like, God put it on my heart and he said, you should make this podcast. And I was like, you have lost your mind. There's no way. But it has been really freeing to be like fully who I am. And it is shocking how many friends that I have that I've known for years, like decades. I mean, I've had childhood friends come to me and say, I have ADHD too. And I'm like,
wow.
You? But because I spoke out first and said, hey, I have this problem, then other people were willing to be vulnerable as well, but only because I was vulnerable first. And that's so scary. But I want other moms to be comfortable with who they are, and like, we didn't do anything to cause this. It's not our fault. I don't want people to feel that way. So far, it's going okay. There's still times where I'm like, what am I doing putting my problems on the internet? But
it's okay. You making, you know, you can make your kids proud that way. And also I think it's a gift. I'm starting to see ADHD as a gift, because we really do get creative with our kids and stuff. And I think I sometimes feel like my poor kids are stuck with me, but a lot of times I'm like, you know what? I just rocked it. Like an hour ago, I did something small that was really cool, that I just gave my kid a tool, because I know she has executive function issues and I can tell she's lost. Yeah. And I just helped her find a way to solve a problem, like on her own. I was just so proud of these small moments. And I'm like, if I didn't have ADHD, I probably wouldn't know how to help her. I wouldn't know.
And you may not have even seen her struggle.
No, I think that makes us see. Mm-hmm.
You understand, like, so many of us have kids who also have ADHD, and that is a gift to our kids, that we can understand them. Like the fact that you recognize, like, this is where she's struggling, and it wasn't just like, we'll just fix it, we'll just do this. that you noticed, and then instead of fixing it for her, you said, okay, why don't you try that? Like, that's a gift
Right,
that
definitely.
you have for her. And yeah, I want you to know how lucky that they are to have you. There's a reason that they're yours and not someone else's. So
Thank you. Your kids too. I'm like I said, you're very brave, and I'm sure they're going to be in the future very proud of what you're doing.
I hope so. Well,
Yes.
I sure hope.
And I hope your husband is proud. He should be.
Thank you. That's just me up inside. I'm getting a little too cute.
Oh, you're making me cry now.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's why I was so excited to do this, is that, you know, I talked to them on the podcast and I'm just by myself, and I talk and I talk and there's no one there. So I was like, how do I actually like interact with people? Like, this means so much more to me than, you know, sitting in the closet by myself.
Hey there, Mama. I had to re-record the ending because I forgot to mention the freebie. So go to patriciasung.com/free holiday plan. And you can download the notes from today as well as a little extra to get you moving towards planning your holidays. And I cannot wait to see you in the class. It's successfulasmother.com to enroll. We start soon. See you in there.